me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Oh. Boom. Oh. Wah. Boom. Oh. Wah. Boom. Oh. Wah. Boom. Oh. Wah. Me, 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 me. 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 It sounds like I'm echoing for some reason. Testing, testing. It sounds like I'm echoing for some reason. Wondering why it's doing that. Testing, testing. Don't understand why. Yes, it is. Definitely doing that. Testing, testing. Don't understand why. Yes, it is. Definitely doing that. Testing, testing. Don't understand why. Yes, it is. Definitely doing that. Testing, testing. Understand. Well, yes, it is. Let's see what's going on here. Why are we echoing? Maybe we're not echoing now. Now that we're muted on the main channel. It can't duplicate if you can't hear my voice. Oh, it's that time of year again. We are making a wishing well. If for some reason I'm echoing and it has a slight repeating noise, by all means let me know, but believe we're okay. Something was picking up my voice, and not sure what it was, but either way, we're back up and ready to roll. First of the week, here we go. All right, we were doing a wishing well, and we pretty much just went with the bricks, and that was about it. Trying to get some stonework, ignoring the inside because who cares about that? Can't even see it. So today, what we're going to plan on doing is we're going to try to get this stonework to look less manufactured and more handmade. And inconsistencies is the key to this, because if you got any uniformity, like if this line is perfectly down to this line, well, then that's just not going to be good. That doesn't work very well, because now it looks like a machine made it, and we don't want that. We want it to look like some drunk dude on a Saturday afternoon that thought he could build a well within about 3 hours, and it turned out to be a whole weekend project. So what we're going to do here is we're going to move by constraining the edges. We're going to basically move these pieces. If there's two of them, we're going to move the bottom one or the top one respectively. We're going to make sure that we got all of these. It's important to get just this section. We're going to leave everything else as is, the bottom part here. I suppose you could move the bottom part, but it may cause some issues right there. It's fine where it is. Mainly we're going to be moving this to side now. The problem is it's not going to want to go to the side with constraints. Let me show you why. Watch them. They want to go in like that, and that's not good. So what we can do is actually, let's rather deselect these. Oh yeah, these. We don't need those. We just really need those pieces right there because we're only going to be moving that. I guess we could move these two because they're going to go laterally. That's fine. Because now if we go this way, look at that. It goes where we want it to go. But the problem is the other one obviously is not going to go that same direction. So there's an issue. But what we're going to do is just turn off the constraints and just move it as I am. What we'll just do is go back to selecting everything here. And we're just going to move it and kind of eyeball it like that. Don't move it very far. Just move it a little bit so that there's a little bit of, off-site, off-center. Yeah, we don't want it all the way straight up. And you don't want all of these to be the same. You can even maybe go in from this view to select them. And move it that way. Bring it out a little bit. We're going to keep doing this. Let's do the top one. And then, just move it. Move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Yeah, see how you have different links now? Maybe this middle one right here. Make it so that the brick overall is going to be shorter. Something like that. You can even make it shorter than that. I mean, shoot, who cares? I mean, dude is drunk and he was putting this thing together and he didn't follow the instructions, so it's not going to follow any kind of logic or common sense. So the less logic you have in your design, the more realistic it's going to be. Trust me on this. I've been in this situation before. Let's do the bottom one. Let's move that there. Now you don't want to move them all to the right because then they'll all be just the same length again. So move a couple to the left, move a couple to the right. Shake, 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 that sort of thing. Like that. You gotta get a smaller one. Yeah, stuff like that. See how that inconsistency is starting to work out? Yeah, it's looking a lot better that way. That's the name of the game, folks. It's the name of the game. I like to see what I'm doing here. Occasionally switch back and forth. That's a big piece. I can leave that there. Let's see. Don't have to do every one of them either. You can move a couple of them over and take out this one. Skip a couple. Could even move two of them if you really wanted to. I mean, if you're just super daring, I mean, why not? Some of these need to go to the left. Like that. It's better. That's better. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. And this is how you do it. This is how you make 3D models. And try not to be so tedious that you wind up killing yourself because it's just really monotonous. Here you go. Do we move anything in the top? We can, but we got to be careful on that one because I guess it doesn't really matter because now the pieces are, yeah, you kind of want that because you want that inconsistency on the top too. So we need to do both, not just one. That goes there. That goes there. This one goes over here. Way over here. Perfect. By the way, I added an editable poly on this, so it basically will revert back just to where I did chamfered. So it's not that bad. If you want to add another one, you can before you do this. Depends on how much work you want to put into it. So yeah, we're just going to keep going around on it. The idea is that once we get the inconsistency, then we're going to go in there and actually give it that what I've been referred to in the industry of architecture is split face. So basically, what it is just the surface here only is got multiple variations of highs and lows. It makes it so that it has a kind of a rough surface as opposed to smooth face. And you can see that more in industrial, commercial, big box stores. They, especially in America, they really like to use split face CMUs, which is the big blocks that you see that make up those buildings. Let's go that route. Getting close. So, and that might be good enough. You don't have to go in there and move every single one. You just want them enough that you can see. See how that's inconsistent there? You've got some, I mean, it's still overlapping all the layers, which is what you want because the thing's going to need to overlap. But now you've got it in kind of almost a, well, now it's kind of a almost a stair effect, but they vary in widths and stuff like that. And you can go in here and tweak that all you want. If you want them to make them smaller width-wise, go right ahead. You can spend all the time you want on that. I don't think anybody's going to care. And there's some inconsistencies in the top too. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to add another edible poly. No, I am not going to add another edible poly. What I'm going to do is add an edit select, or poly select rather. Poly select. Where are we at? Poly select right here. We use that in the grass model. And what that does is allow you specifically to identify and select certain pieces in here so that you can apply a modifier that will be applied to just the selected pieces. Okay. So now I've got those selected, but I want to remove the top part. I want to remove this inside for sure. That goes away. We don't need it. And I just want this outer face here. I don't want the inner parts. So even though I can deselect here, I want to make sure I didn't just do that. See how I deselected in the backside? Right there. I deselected this one accident because I dragged too much. So when you're dragging, make sure that you're in push F3 so that you can see what you're doing. Hold down your Alt key like we've been doing. And you don't have to go over the whole thing, just go over the top, and then it'll select all the pieces down below. If you make a mistake, just Control C or Control left click back into it, and you should be good to go. Just to keep holding down Alt, make sure that you get all of the middle pieces because we don't want those. Just want that main frame, main part. And really, you just got to make little rectangles wise. And that way we can make just these selections here. It shouldn't take too long. You can even be bold and select several of them at a time by dragging over. If you got the right angle, see like this one, you can go all the way across here. Oops. And actually, it may be even quicker for you to go the other direction where you don't have anything selected. And instead of deselecting, you're actually selecting each one of these faces. You can do that too. You might find it faster. I tend to find ways that take the absolute longest and then find out after I've spent an hour and a half that I could have done it a different way that took about 5 minutes. And thus is part of being a modeler. So bear with me as I'm going across here, taking out each one by one, because we don't like them. Oops, I lost that one too. It's okay. We get do-overs. Just make sure you get every one of them and don't skip over them. It's always good after you do this, if you slice through them real fast, to go back over them, double check, make sure you've got the right one selected. Because if you don't, the next one you put on there is going to look like crap. And it's unnecessary because we're going to put what's called a noise modifier. We're going to put that crazy split face bump to make it look like it's stone. And the chiseled areas that were used by a chisel and a hammer, they will not be split face. Why? Because they wouldn't be split face because you've used a chisel on them. So all these sections in between that are not selected, they were cut. I mean, it's a fake model, but in reality, if someone were to replicate this, they would be using a chisel. All of those would be cut, it'd be angled right, and there would be no split face. So we just want these pieces here selected. You can do the top, but I really wouldn't, because again, that's a cut piece. They would try to make it as flat as possible. Leaving this front facade part uncut is strictly just for aesthetics. I mean, they could go in there and they could carve it down if they wanted to, but it wouldn't really matter because it would just be for visual. But the top part needs to be flat so you can rest things on it and it doesn't fall over. Now, with PolySelect, unlike the last time where we deselect like that, we don't want that. We want to just click this arrow button, and all that does is minimize it. It doesn't actually deselect. If you want to deselect, you have to actually click the word PolySelect, and that'll deselect it. Well, we want them to stay selected because the next modifier, like we did last time, the next modifier will be applied to only the faces that we have selected, which is what we want is noise modifier. And it doesn't look like it does anything. And this may not, and actually because it's a cylinder, we may need to change that because it's just in a box. Because it's going to go in different directions. Let's see what happens. So basically what you're doing here is you have the scale, which is the size of the ripples, the size of the noise pattern that's going to be applied to it. The smaller the number, the tighter, the littler bumps you have. The bigger the number, the bigger bumps you have. I want it to be kind of in the middle, maybe. I'm just experimenting to begin with. And then this is your strings. X and Y are going laterally. Z is going vertically, so very little need for Z, but the X and Y can, and you just start moving them out and hope that this works. No, I failed already. So basically, this is just to show you what's screwed up. So when it comes to noise, I missed that part too. Need to cover that. There's only 2 polygons here on each face. And in order to use the noise, you need to have a buttload of faces. And I mean a buttload of them. So what I did wrong was I need to go back to PolySelect first of all. Go back to PolySelect. Make sure, go back one more time. Make sure I didn't do that wrong. Oh, screwed that up. All right. Make sure all this is good. All right. Now what I need to do is, well, crap. I really need to do that. We can try turbo smooth on it. Yeah, that's what I thought. And we need to tighten up all the edges because turbo smooth has a tendency to round things. That's what it's supposed to do. And in order to make it so it's sharp edges, you have to put those segments, as we did before, you have to put segments along this line, along this line, along the top and the bottom. So I kind of basically screwed up on that thing. So we're going to go back down to edit poly and turn off the poly select. Maybe we can get away with this. Go down to edit poly. Bring the turbo smooth actually down because we actually want the poly select on top. So what we need to do now is just start making a whole bunch of freaking cuts. And this is probably something I should have done before I started moving things around. Again, 3D modeling really helps when you pre-plan, and sometimes you're just kind of going with the flow, and it turns out that it's not really what you wanted. In this case, I should have, before I relocated all of these pieces here, I should have then made the cuts there because they would have been nice and lined up, and the cuts would have been fine. But because I got them off-centered now, they're not going to look very good. In fact, if I add an editable poly and select the edges, there's no real good way of me selecting because I need all these selected. Well, we're off to a bad start already. Well, let's see what happens. We go to connect. It brings that segment in. Yeah, you see how off-centered? It's because it's following along this path here, and if I had done it before, we had started moving around, it'd been fine, but we'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky here. I doubt it, though. Move it as close as you can to that edge, because that's really the whole point there. You don't want to be well, you can try to put it on it, and then try to move it with constraints. Yeah, that actually worked a little bit better. So, to straighten that thing up, I rammed it right into the edge, which is as far as it can go. Then I changed my constraint to where it's just going to go on the edges. It can only move along those lines. It can't move any other direction. It has to follow this line here. And you turn that on and pull it back, and there's your straight edge that sort of follows it. We can try to do the ring. We've used that before. We grab a segment and then click ring. And that actually seemed to do all right. Didn't select the back side, which is fine. Just go in here and select it. But it did select all of this piece here. So yeah, that actually worked pretty well. So we can go in there and connect and then move it over to that side because we want it on both sides. And then move it back out again. See how we're making that nice little tight area? And that way when you turn on Turbo Smooth, it actually looks, tighter, which is what we want. Something like that. So, unfortunately, I'm going to do that to all of this crap. Yeehaw! Let's see. What if we can try to do a couple of them at a time? Let's see if we can do that. See, we already did that one. We'll do this one and this one. Let's do ring. Let's do connect. And then let's move them all the way over there. And then bring them back to the left. Yeah, we can do them 2 at a time. You might be able to do more than that, but as long as they're moving in the same direction. And we need this side and this side. Ring it up. Yeah, that one doesn't like it. If you click, oh, it definitely doesn't like this. What's wrong here? Oh, that one worked. Yeah, that did it. Okay. Not sure why it didn't do it a second ago, but it did now. And then click ring there. Now we've got these two. and then it needs to go to the right all the way, and then move it back just a tad. So now we've got 3 rows here. You see how they've got lines on both sides? And again, you turn Turbo Smooth on, and you can see that the pieces have a little bit more rounded, or cornered rather, edges. The bottom doesn't, but we'll worry about that in a second. Right now, we've just got to get these all taken care of. There's one. There's 2. Connect. And this one, yeah, goes there, and then you bring it back a little bit. It doesn't matter how far back, just keep it, like I'm doing it. It's in the general ballpark of it. Yeah, see how the backside isn't getting selected? It's leaving all these pieces right here and right here, so it's actually probably a good idea to go in here and select ring as well to get that around there, because you don't want to have these little T-section intersections. You want to have this piece connected somewhere, otherwise the Turbo Smooth is going to pull it. So you want it to make it look like that. So we'll do that then. Fix that. We've already got that ring set up. And where do we want to go? We wanted to go this way. Something like that. Oops. Did something wrong here. Did something terribly wrong. We actually moved this piece. We split this one for some reason. Oh, I see why. We didn't join it all the way. It's got to be one complete loop where the connect doesn't really work. Something like that. Alright, so that's there. Because we don't trust it anymore. Yep, we don't trust it. To grab those backside and get the connect. And we're going to run it into this wall and pull it back a little bit. I have no idea what this piece is here, but we can clean it up pretty easily. Just basically go in here and just delete all that, because it needs to be a grid. It doesn't need to be that, but somewhere along the line I selected that poly and I shouldn't have. Probably when I was chamfering it, it had this edge selected, and when it chamfers it splits it off like that. So pretty simple. You go in here and select all these 3 because they need to be like this, one single entity. There's a collapse button up here on the top right hand corner, and all that does is just fuses all 3 of them together. You can do that with just about as many vertices as you want. It collapses on itself, and then you have one single vertex. It fuses multiple ones together. It can do that in certain situations. For the most part, it works pretty well. Alright. Let's see here. Okay, we're on this one now. We need to go to this. So this. This one and this one. Ring. This and this. Ring. There we go. Let's see. Connect. And we need to go the other direction, to the left. To the left, to the left, to the right, to the right. Save this bad boy as O2. Okay. And we continue on. We're making progress. Let's see, we already did that side, so now we need to go to the right here. Go ring. Ring. Grab the bottom one too. Connect. We're going to the right now. All the way to the right. Can't go wrong with that. And then just grab any of them. Oops. Look what happened there. Something's causing this issue here. So we're going to Control Z a couple times before we get back into the business of that one. And we can look at what has happened here. And my guess is that there's a vertice that's not liking, that's not really right. So let's check it out. Let's go here, make sure there's only one vertice here. I'm looking right here for my vertice count. Let's back it up so we're not actually, yeah, there we go. Let's see, what else? What else? It looks like it's all lined up right. Ah. Oh, no. That's right. That's right, too. Because it's all the way around to that side. Let's do it one more time just to make sure that lightning strikes twice. Ah. It must have been some weird thing. Because it didn't do it. Oh, I see why. Okay. So what that's doing, because we have the constraints turned on, it has to follow one direction or the other. And depending on which way you pull, this way or this way, it may want to go inward. So it could go along this segment, but it can also go along that segment too, which is all the way back, this direction. So you have to be careful where this thing is labeled, where this thing is aimed. If I want to go this way, that's fine, it goes that way, but these pieces down here don't want to go anywhere. If I go the other direction, it goes inward. So it's better for me to go in here and grab both and pull it apart until I know I've got no black lines and things like that. Now we can probably try to go backwards and pull back a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes you got to finagle this one. It's just a matter of moving, keeping those edge constraint turned on, and then move it back and forth, and then learning that what you can and cannot do with it. It took me a while to understand really the limits of this feature. Oops, definitely don't want that. And we want to connect, and then we want to go to the left this time all the way. And I would take both of them that time and pull them apart. That way we don't have any, those artifacts, those black areas, those are called artifacts. You definitely don't want those. All right. My goodness. Very tedious. Not the most exciting feature in this by any means, I'm afraid. But the repetition definitely helps educate and gain in knowledge on that. I definitely need, let's go all the way there and then bring it back. Ring. Connect. I like to move it. Yeah, there we got that one. Let's see, what else? What else? The next one is this one. Let's see, we could probably keep doing this, actually, now that I think we can get away with this. I think we can do that much. We can't go too far because once you get over here, the Y direction will go that way. But for this thing, Y direction goes along that edge. This one goes in the direction of the face. But when you go around that curve, the Y direction suddenly, see how it's almost along the lines of the edge? Whereas this one, it would be perpendicular. So you can't curve it too much. But you can definitely curve quite a number of them. So let's do that real quick to save some time. I don't want any of that. Is that all I picked? One, two, three, 4, 5, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's that fifth one? It's this one. Yeah. Alright, there we go. And if my calculations are correct, this will work. Alright, we need to go to the right. And then pull back. There. And now we need to go to the left. But the same exact pieces. So ring it. Ring it. I think I'm doing this right. Hope this is right. Looks it. They can be inconsistent. That's fine. As far as the distance from the chamfered edge to these tightened lines, it's fine. Because again, we're not going for consistency. We're just going for imagery. Let's see here. This one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. No. That's not right. Did I screw up the other ones? No. But definitely, I've got that one already taken care of, but I need this one to go to the right. This one goes to the right. Yeah, I was right. Yeah. There you go. There, we'll do those 4. And then that one actually went down. Oh. It's the first one. Yeah, so do back to connect, 0 it back, and then we want it to go to the right all the way. And then bring it back just a touch. There. Do the same thing for the right side. I like to move it, move it. Okay. And on this one, we connect. And I think it's actually, no, we need to go left this time. left. It's always opposite of what you just did. So we've got that taken care of. We got most of these already ready to go. So all we need to do is a lot. Half of it. We're halfway there. But we're going to do more at a time. So bear with me while we get through the boring part. We'll get through this together. Okay. There we go. Now we got those. We going to connect. Not to the left, it's to the right. And then bring it back just a touch. Just like that. Oh yeah, just like that. Alright. And next. We're getting them all. Yes. Ring. Ring. And connect. And to the left and back. Got all those taken care of. Now it's this one. There we go, there we go, there we go. Oops, I was right. It was this way. Or was it? Nope. I was right to begin with. It was this way. Kind of tough to keep track sometimes. Okay. There we go. Now it's to the left. Oh, see? We're almost done now. Can we do all of them together? I don't know if we can or not, but we're going to try. It's already done over there, so we're going to try for this one. Okay, we got all of these to select. All that. Oops. We just want the back face, we don't want the others. And you just get to know your model and know how to do modeling in general. After a while, you can see the object in wireframe just as well as you can in solid. I'm not saying that you're going to model always in wireframe, but you'll start to identify and know what line is what, even though they're on top of each other. It definitely helps the fact that new versions of Max grays out the lines darker if they're in the background. So it kind of gives you a little sense of depth. See all these gray lines, they're white in the front and gray in the back. Kind of gives you an idea where you're at. This will be the final one, finally. And connect into the left and pull back. There we go. Save this bad boy. Now, when we turn on Turbo Smooth, with the exception of the base, it's more or less ready to go. It's got tight edges. There's a little bit of a gap in between here, but again, that's fine. And in fact, depth and definition, even like gaps like that, are actually quite good because it'll show up better on the printer, and it gives it less of a flat surface, even though these two realistically should be pushed together tighter. And then to get rid of this crap down the bottom is probably the easiest, I believe. Go back to edges. And you're grabbing just any one of these vertical pieces right there. Okay? And go to loop. Nope, not loop. Go to ring. So it selects all the edges around it, the merry-go-round. And then go to connect and lower it down as much as you can so it's not no artifacts like that, none of the black stuff, and then just make it tight. And that should be enough. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, there's a little bit of an edge out there, but I kind of like that. And we're going to add a little bit to it around the texture. We're going to add a bush and things, so we're going to try to at least, so that it will cover up some of the, but yeah, the cracks down there, not a problem. It won't be that big of a deal. Now, this stuff in here might be because, you won't see this, but it may have like a weird way of printing it out. So we could do the same exact thing that we just did. Ring it. Oops. Oh, don't tell me that we have to go in there and ring every one of these. We sure do. Okay, well, way to do this. Go to F, go to side view, top, and hold down Alt and just start like unselecting. It's really tough to see what you're doing here, but you're selecting as much of the outer rim as you can so that you have just hopefully the inside selected. So you go around here, make sure that nothing on the outside is selected, which looks like it's good. And then you go into the inside and make sure it is all selected because that's what you want. I want every one of these selected. There we go. And then go to connect. Right click to zero out as we always do, and then go all the way down and then just come up a little bit. You can try to do all the way down. We've got some artifacts here because the trough that we made, you can see kind of a diamond arrowhead type of formation. Each piece here, these little overlapping, are actually a greater piece. I don't worry about it because, if I go in here and select it, it's that little piece, but it's also sharing, it's two pieces. It's sharing one and the other now. So if I delete it, there's another piece there, but the other one's going to be part of this trough here. And if you delete that, then you got a weird hole. The remedy to this, if you really want a quick and dirty way, is before you did that outline to bring this down all the way, and then that actually it does seem to take care of that as it is. So yeah, you can just bring those. You can bring these down if you really want to. If you really don't want to see those. Matter of fact, I think I can. Yeah, it really doesn't. That's a lot more work that needs to be done. You can, if you're really OCD, you can go in here and move all these down. I'm not going to worry about it. The main thing is we got that edge cut in there. And it still wants to come up. That may be because of the the triangle. Maybe because of this, and I'm pretty sure it is. To eliminate that, you can just, I mean, if you really wanted to go in here, you could lower all these, oops, turn off your constraints over here, so you can go straight down. You could theoretically go down with all those pieces. If I can select them all, like that, and then when you turn on Turbo Smooth, it's still there, but it's not quite as apparent. But again, you're talking about stuff that's inside the wishing well, and no one's going to even care or look or notice. It's just going to sit on the ground, so it's fine. Everything's fine. But we do need to do the same thing for the top part. Now that we did for the bottom, we got to do for the same thing for the top. Because it definitely will be shown. Let's see if we get lucky here. Nope. So yeah, we need to get every one of these rings here all the way around. And again, we can go in here and try to do it this way. Selecting everything. And we don't want the outer rim. Because right now we have all of the vertical pieces going around this outer circumference and the inner circumference. And we want to get rid of just the outer one. And I'm holding down Alt the whole time and just dragging over with an overlap. And I can't see what it's doing, but you can actually look over here and you can actually see how many edges you have left, and you can actually watch them as they go down. I just go around the circle and I can tell that I've got nothing selected on the outside. It's all selected on the inside now, just like the bottom one. But this time you want it to go to the top instead of the bottom, so you want it to go up there. And now when you do that, it looks pretty hideous. We might have to fix the triangle, little triangles here. Yeah, that's not going to be good. That's not good at all. I kind of saw that earlier, and I didn't want to mess with it because it was just, oops, I want the polygon selected, because it was just stuff that I didn't think it was going to be all that important, but I'm deleting the one that has the black. So all those are deleting. But the problem is then you've got, even though it looks like it, you've got that piece overlapping this other piece. It's, well, this line here. So you've got this piece here that is basically just up against these pieces. There's no jointing between the two. So you can just go to vertice, go to target weld. We're going to start welding some vertices. Just weld that right there, and then you can weld it right there. And that should theoretically be good enough. Well, no, I'd rather take all of that out. You really don't want to have these like just polygons like this. You don't have these weird polygons just sitting here without any substance, and you see how big of a piece. It's a bit of a mess. And all of that is solvable by welding vertices. You go texture weld, and then if you go here, it should be okay. Now it's all one piece. Can you see that? Let's do it again real quick. And really you can do it all by, I mean, it's nice to delete first the black. Oop, not the blue, the black. Anything that has this, you can go around here real quick. And to select more than one thing, like if you select the wrong, like for instance here, that one's selected, that one's selected, that one. I'll do it here in a second where you can actually see. If I select the same polygon more than once and it's overlapping something else, it'll automatically switch back. See how it cycles through it all? As you click on it each time, even though I'm not moving my mouse, I'm selecting different ones that are all theoretically touching each other in a non-nice way. So we want to get rid of just the black area. Not that one. Just the edge, just these. And again, all this is easily avoided if you approach it better than just diving right into it. And then also just practice. I mean, sometimes I will jump into it without even thinking what I'm doing, and it'll cause me to have to redo it a couple of times. But know that even if you lose some data, or you do it one way, every single time you do it again, it will be quicker, and 9 times out of 10 you'll find that you actually do it better than the last time. And I personally am okay with, midway through scrapping a project, starting back over and saying, okay, well, that's fine. That was one mistake. No more mistakes, but we got this. Just deleting just the little V's. All right. Now we can go back to vertice, and we're going to turn on target weld, and we're just going to weld the crap out of everything. Bring that up there. Down to the edge, down to the edge, down in the middle, bottom part up. We're doing that the exact same way on every one of these. Down, down, middle, bottom up. On the right, on the left, from the top. From the top to the bottom. And that's how it's done, folks. Oh, hello. I don't even know if you need to do that deleting the polygon thing. You never know. Let me see. Generally, I like to delete them just because I want to make sure that there are no overlapping. Because even though you don't see them, sometimes there's polys that are so thin you don't even see them, but they're there. They can be shrunk down as small as an edge, the thickness of an edge. So this edge right here could have a poly between this piece and this piece. There could be a polygon right there that is just the thickness of an edge. And you wouldn't know it unless you selected all of it and looked to see how many things you have selected. If my mouse would start moving again, come on, baby. Like that. How many repetition things can we do tonight, kids? All of them? It just keeps going. There's always another one to do. Ah, there's another one. And another. And another. Ah, and another. Well, this one's weird. The other ones seem to be okay, but this one's weird. Because it doesn't have... Oh, I must have accidentally welded those two together. There's 2 vertices are right there. So we're going to separate these. Ah, that's what it did. Okay, yeah. So basically what this did is, because there's a polygon here and a polygon here, it did not like to fuse these 2 vertices together, because it would cause these 2 pieces to be up against these 2 pieces with a polygon wedged between them. And they don't like that. So you usually got to remove that polygon and then go down there and do that. But now we've got an issue, because usually this piece here is fitting around there. Well, you've got a problem here, because you got a hole here and you got nothing here there's no vertices around here to snap on there. Simple solution: delete one of them. Go to border, go to select, You can see that it's a little bit wrong there. Let me make sure that this actually is one vertex. It is. Is this one vertex? It is. Make sure all your vertices are 1. We're looking over here always. In this right side, it shows you the number of, not the vertice and none of the vertices, but it says vertex, which is single. Vertices is plural. So as long as it says vertex, we're good to go. So all these are one single vertex. So what we'll do is just edge. Select all the edges. Go to border and see if cap works, and it does. Go to polygon, oops. Go to polygon, delete that. Now let's see if the border will work this time. It does. And then go to cap. And now it's the same as all the others. Except, well, take that back. No, it's not. It should be down here. These two vertices should be together. So we'll move it like that. Now they're all together. Now they're like everything else. And now we've got that, which looks a lot better now. I'm glad I did it. Problem right there. You see how all of them are pretty much squared off except this one right here. This one has a little bit too much curve to it. Now we could leave it. And matter of fact, you can actually make a couple of these do this. But we're going to go and see what's the problem. Officer. What is the problem? Oh, it is because... So each one of it's the one that we did to begin with. So each one of these middle pieces on the capstones have 3 pieces all the way through. This one doesn't. And same for that. That doesn't have a line going down through. It's a separate. So the turbo smooth, when it's kicked in, it starts to pull all those things apart. Looks like same for this too, because these come down. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like this whole section is kind of a mess. And we can solve that by a cut tool. So basically, we're just going to go in there and cut, and look and see what they do. That's actually a little bit different. We missed one. We missed one right here. Let's get this one real quick. To the left, down the top, up from the bottom. There. So basically, on this one to the side, we'll go to cut. And we're going to make it look identical. So we're going to take this piece, which is right here, and we're going to go straight down and match it with wherever the middle section is of the segment. We'll move those later, but for now we needed to make sure that we're guaranteed on the segment. And in order to know that, you're going to make sure that the segment turns yellow like it is now. That way you know you're in the middle of that segment that you want. And we're going to go all the way down because that's where we like it. Make sure that it's yellow, and you're going to be golden. And yes, I did say yellow and golden together. All right, how did the other boys do that? Hold on. Let's back up a little bit. Let's cancel that cutter. What we do here. Well, there's a lot of them that are just individually sitting there. Oops, sorry. Let me get that straight. There's a lot of crap that isn't very clean here, but that's all right. We're not looking for cleanliness. We just want to make sure these things are pulled in right. So this is where we cut earlier. So let's turn our constraints on. And select those. We're going to move those in. Oh, not that one. We're going to move the rest of them in. And that way it looks like the other ones. Comes down like that. We're going to do the same thing for the other one. Yellow, 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 yellow. And we really don't have to worry about the base because that's going to be on the bottom. It doesn't really matter. Constraints are still on. We move that to there. Deselect the top one because that's where it needs to stay, and then squeeze it in. And do it like that. We do the same thing for this middleman. I don't know if it's really going to be important, but we'll do it anyway because we did it on the other ones. I'm just going to cut it, cut, cutty, cut, cut, cut. Same one. Cut. Oops. Back up, Control Z. Nope. Completely get out of there. Undo everything. Deselect stuff and start your cutter again. Cut can really screw up things because it's cutting. It does not know where you're cutting unless you specifically tell it. See, I want to always check the other side to make sure I didn't accidentally cut on the other side because it can be real bad way down the road. Yeah, I cut it. It's fine. I can cut this one too if I want to, I guess. This piece right here, because I haven't done that yet. Oop, it's not wanting to cut. Make sure I'm not doing anything wrong. Try it again. There we go. That's better. Deselect the cutter. Select your pieces. Bring it on in. Bring it on in. That should be good. Now if we turn on Turbo Smooth, we should be alright now. Yeah. 4. There we go. Now they're all the same. That's good enough. We got little inconsistencies on some of the pieces there. As we move around, we see those diagonal cuts. They're diagonal folds. They're in the stone face. That's when we moved our vertices left to right. Leave them. If you want to go in there and adjust them, all you have to do is push some of those in. All you have to do is go in there and hit your F4, and you'll want to select probably all 3 of them. Turn on your Turbo Smooth so you can actually see that, and move it in just a tad bit. You can actually turn off F4. Let me do that again. Yeah, so you can turn off F4 so you can actually see it. If you turn it on and turn off Turbo Smooth, you'll see that you got those 3 segments selected. If you turn on Turbo Smooth, hit F4, then you can actually go in there and see if you can't turn off your constraints, because this is something where we're going to go inward and we just want to go as far as we can until it goes away. But you basically go in there and see if you can't get rid of that by moving this thing around to see if that restraint doesn't go away. It may not, mostly because you've got 3 segments really close together. You can alleviate that by turning on your constraints again and moving these outward a little bit away from that middle piece, because that's what's causing that issue, is that tightness, that bundleness. It's the Turbo Smooth is wanting to make this little ridge even sharper because you've got the edges on either side. So if you move to one side or the other, hit F4, they're gone. So if you want to, you can go in there. It's still kind of there, but not really. But so you can separate those if you want to. It's not going to make a bit of difference when you print this thing off. So if you're just doing this for printing purposes, don't even worry about it. All right, so let's save this. Now that we've got the Turbo Smooth on, we crank up the faces. Hit F4 so we can actually see this. We've got it at a 3. I would just crank it up to a 4 and see if we can get away with that. If your computer can handle a 4 on iterations, do it. If you can't, just do a 3. You're fine. It's not going to be the end of the world. It just means more polys and things like that. Now, because we added that Turbo Smooth and did all kinds of crap, that poly select's not going to work anymore. What we can do, I guess we can just do it the old-fashioned way like we did a second ago. Problem is, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. So I just selected the polys, and it's now thinking about it, and it may actually crash on me. So we may drop it down to 3, because I don't know if this thing's going to like it or not. Because right now we're trying to grab probably 50,000 polygons right now, and I don't think it really likes it. Matter of fact, I don't even think it's going to let me do anything. It may, well, maybe not. It didn't crash. Interesting. It's not letting me select. Oh, it's because I got to turn it off right now. Right here, this little eyeball to the left of it. It does not have it turned on, and that causes it to not actually be visible, and that's why. So, turn it on. Oop. This may have to be added on again. Yeah, it looks like it's going to have to be added on. When in doubt, just delete it and then add it back on and see if you can add it. Poly select is what we're looking for. Poly select right here in your modifier tab. Let's see if it actually likes it. It may not. This may just be too many polys for it to actually select on this. Yeah, I bet it is. Oh. Yeah, this may be too much. Come on, baby. Yeah, it does there. So yeah, I did actually select it, but it didn't select everything that I wanted. One option you can try to do, I don't know if it will select with it underneath Turbo Smooth. Let's try that real quick. So we turn Turbo Smooth off. We do a poly select with it turned off. Poly select. I don't know if this will work, but we're gonna try. Oh man, it's gonna make me select every one of these rat farts. I try and ignore back faces over here, but half the time that doesn't work because you do that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe it actually is going to work this time. Let's see. Let's find out if this really happens or not. So far it's actually doing it. So yeah, ignore back face is actually working for once. And you can, I'm holding down control and dragging and making sure I get all three. This may be a lot faster than the previous method of me deselecting stuff. Yeah, see how it didn't? It did actually select other crap. So you got to be careful on that. But it works. So here we go. Yeah, this is way better, I guess. See, I already see in the background it's accidentally selecting other faces that it shouldn't. But deselecting a few faces like that is not going to be the end of the world. You can get away with that stuff. Oops. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Boom, 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 boom. Da, da, da. Get sued by copyright for singing Johnny Carson. Can't play any copyright music. Can't sing any copyright music on Twitch. Nothing. Cannot do that. Is not allowed. Alright, what did I select back here? Yeah, I did. Let's get rid of all this jujube. Yeah, might as well go to the top view. Let's deselect all that. And all that. And all that. And all that. Why isn't it not deselecting? Why is it not deselecting this? Come on. Come on. Oh. Ignore backface is actually hurting me right now because it's knowing these are all backfaced. So all the faces here are on the bottom. I'm looking from the top down right now because I hit T. And because I said ignore back facing, it would not let me deselect those because they're on the back. Turn that off and it's fine. All right, now that we've got them back on selected again, now we can see about shutting that down and seeing what Turbo Smooth does. Maybe. So yeah, that's what it did. So here's the thing about Turbo Smooth and the way it interprets stuff. It does not believe, since it makes polys that weren't there to begin with, it doesn't interpret and recognize your selection on those polys because they weren't there before. So, and I take that back. Maybe I did actually. Maybe I screwed up there. Hold on. Stand by. Because I didn't realize that there were pieces on either side. This may actually make a difference. Oops, I did not just do that. Okay. Well, it did get to the side there, which is actually quite nice. But it didn't get the top part. Oh, and I already saw something I forgot to do earlier. Damn it. Yeah, so if you turn the Turbo Smooth on, it's pretty good on the side, but this side's kind of smooth. See how smooth it is? Flat. You really should tighten those up a bit, but I'm not going to do it. Screw it. But yeah, it basically did go and select from edge to edge. Did a pretty good job about that too, but it didn't do the top, and that's because if you turn off Turbo Smooth, there is no top up here to really select. If we go in there and make a horizontal line that goes all the way across here and select this piece, then it would do the same thing as it does this piece, so that when you turn it on, it would actually... well, it's not showing it. There. It would actually be up to the edge as well. So that's one way of doing it. Just question is, do you want to do it right or do it good? And the answer is, I actually want to do it right. Well, let me think here. What? Oops. What if I had an edible poly? Nope, that doesn't work. Rat farts. Yeah, you can't do that. I'm going to have to turn it off. Dang it. Dang it. Dang it. So what I'm doing right here is I'm basically going around and just clicking rings so that it is selecting all the vertical pieces on the front facade. I just want, for now, I just want just the main facade because we're going to tighten it up right here. We don't have to worry about the top part necessarily up here. We just worry about the edge. We're just trying to get a nice sharp edge. We've done this before. It's kind of a bummer that I forgot about it. We need two of them, though, this time. Two of them, and then use the middle one because that separates the two and gets them up there tight. Don't use the bottom one because that shifts them up and down together. The middle one separates them. So now that we've got them all like that, now that's fine. You can deselect it. I'm pretty sure that turning on... we might have got lucky there. Almost. Didn't quite get lucky, but we got somewhat lucky. Turn ignore back faces on. We're wanting just these pieces. We're not going to go all the way around just yet. I want to test this out and make sure that it's going to look all right. So I just selected, Ow, little turds. I just selected this one right here. So I made it all the way to the edge, which all of them don't have that. And we're going to test it on the turbo. And sure enough, you see how much more is selected there? Yeah, that makes a difference. And it's going to make a difference when you put the noise modifier if we ever get to that point tonight. It's already 7:13. Yeah. I haven't been moving very fast on these things. I may have to start working on these things a lot longer because I got to get more stuff done. Part of the problem is just repetition of doing the thing over and over again, and unfortunately having to do multiple things that you didn't want to do to begin with. One thing, I really want to go over it like that, but it's going to go over the middle. Yeah, that's what I thought. But there's so many pieces. There's so many little pieces there. Oh, did it? Oh, for God's sake. Didn't turn on ignore backface. See, that's why I usually don't have ignore backface on, because it ends up ruining and screwing up my system. I'm basically just went around and selected the bottom all the way across and all the way on the top. And sure enough, it didn't select. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it selected all those. So it has this little piece here and that little piece there. So unfortunately, yeah, you know it. And not only that, you've got to go in here and do a better job deselecting these because there's more faces now in the troughs. So you got to go in here and do the same thing. I'm going to do this real quick and then we'll evaluate our situation. Really boring stuff tonight, I'm afraid, folks. But that's just how she rolls. Just like the tree thing, I can go in there and redo it and find a million things that could have been done better and could have been done quicker. And then come back with another one that's even better version than this one. But this is just how that goes. Yeah, that's a bummer. I really don't want to do all of these. Oh, man. Oops, I better turn that off. People, sorry. Something I didn't think about there. I guess I'll just do the same blasted thing here. Oh, man, I really wish I had been paying attention to this. That one as well. Might as well do the rest of these. I'm just having that marquee just go right over that lip of those smaller. Oh, we already did that. Already did all those? Okay. And then we go back and fix our mistakes. Turn off, ignore, well, we already have that turned off. Turn off all these, undo that. So we don't have any of these. Okay. Yeah, that middle, that second from the top one, yeah, this one didn't get. Oh, it must have been that had the ignore back faces on. Yeah. Now, nope, it still didn't pick it. Wonder what's the deal there. Oh, they're on different levels. This one was a different. These were on different levels altogether. So yeah, they didn't even get selected. Try that again then. What? one more time. Not sure why it's not letting me select these. I have ignore backface turned off, so it should. Should have these things up there. Man. Not having much luck lately. Although the print, actually, I did speaking of which, I tested out the printer over the weekend. For those who do not follow us on social media, which I find it hard to believe that you actually found this place without it. Managed to get one of the prints off. That was the Dwarf House that I mentioned and showed last week. Dwarf House, Gnome Home, whatever you want to call it. And Maiden Voyage did not adjust any settings other than I calibrated or I used calipers to measure the thickness of the filament that came with the printer. It was a couple of decimal point millimeters off of what it was supposed to be, plus or minus half a millimeter. And I adjusted that and that alone, then hit print without any real anything done on the settings. Printed like a charm. I was really impressed with the Prusa. I believe it's Prusa. I've been mispronouncing it, calling it Prusa. Need to meet the guy. That way I can actually ask him how in the world you pronounce his name. But the guy, Joseph Prusa, who owns Prusa Printing, sells all these 3D printers that are fantastic in quality, and the cost is actually very reasonable, especially if you choose to put it together yourself. It comes in a kit, comes in a box, has a step-by-step instructions of how to do it all. And seriously, why isn't I'm really not wanting to do this anymore? Come on, guys. Oh, is it really that high up? I guess it is. But anyway, they mailed me the printer. We set it up, took it on its maiden voyage, printed like a charm. And actually, I printed off another piece that fixed a friend's toy. His son's toy had broke on one of the pieces, but it still had one of them. There were several different pieces that were identical on that made up the toy. And I was able to take some calipers and just measure along the way diameter and length and replicate the piece. Printed it off, took about 24 minutes. It was a little bitty tiny piece, and I printed 4 of them. And I don't think I want to go all the way up there. Yeah, I just want these. And yeah, it was really easy to print off, really easy to print. Now, the Dwarf House took forever. It took 18 hours. And the reason why it took 18 hours is because I did not adjust the settings. The infill, which is the amount of plastic that they put into the inside of your model to give it solidity that you need to have, you set the percentage of it. And depending on how much you want it to fill, depends on how tight the pattern that fills inside. It doesn't actually, now you can set it so that it's a solid in the middle. So if you sliced it open, you would be nothing but solid plastic. That's usually not a great idea because it's unnecessary and it's a waste of plastic. But you do need to have some infill in there because without it, you have a very good chance of it collapsing. You don't have any strength in there. And the fact that you want to have as much stability as you can when you have something so it has more durability to it, you want to put some kind of infill in there. I set it to like 20%, which I felt was okay. That's average. But it seemed like it didn't need it. It could have done maybe 15. I don't think 10% would have been a good one, but it could have been 15. That would have cut it down. And then the overall size of it is 4 inches tall. Shrinking it down a little bit would have been better. There was some issues with the visual, like some of the features. I did a couple of squirrels, and one of them looked okay. The other one, not so much, and could have been eliminated. The birds were completely immaterial. They did nothing. You couldn't even see what they were, and they almost broke off when I was trying to clean it up. So there was absolutely no reason to have those pieces. So remove all that. I think I can get it down to under 10 hours. 12 hours at the most, but I think I can get it down to 10, and that's what my goal is, to keep them quick and efficient. But with printers, depending on your printer, depending on your settings, your mileage is going to vary. You know, some printers print real fast, others not so much. Blast the thing, deselected what I wanted. Okay, I'm going to stay in wireframe mode this time so I can actually see what I'm doing. Make sure I'm not doing the same thing. Oops, see, just did it again. Dang it. You gotta be kidding me. There. And here we go. Some more time wasting monotony. Can't believe you guys are still awake. You guys are troopers. Here we go. Rock you like a hurricane. See, I gotta say Quain instead of Kane because of copyright infringements. You can't sing copyright songs on Twitch. They'll sue you, shut you down. Don't want that. Are we done yet? What happened here? Oh. What happened here? Accidentally deselected the wrong sheet. More of these. The mines of more of these. They call it a mine. A mine. Oh, always double check your work. Make sure you've got it all done the right way. All right. Now that we've got all that, we minimize that, we don't deselect it, and then we go to turbo and turn it on. If we can, there we go. So now we got it where we can actually see that we've got the right pieces selected. And after 2.5 hours of monotonous work, we need to save it because this may kill it. And we're going to add noise this time, back to what we did at the very beginning that we were supposed to do already. Turn on fractal. That gives it a little bit more of a randomness than it would otherwise. We don't want it quite so sharp. And we're going to try this again and see if it works. It is not looking like it's working after all that work. Let's see. 20, 15. We don't want 0. That's way too much. I want 5 and 5. Yeah, that's not working on the polygon face like we thought. That's a bummer. Let's make the size a little bit tighter. You can see the difference between 20 and 80, 60, 40, 20. So it shows you the difference of it. That's just basically the scale of the actual roughness itself, whether it's big or not. We might be able to get away with this, making it 0. We do not want the z-axis to do anything. We might be able to get away with that. 15. We can probably get away with actually it being a little bit like that because it's inconsistent, wobbly, and we did talk about how a drunk made this because it's still technically a circle. And now that we have our pieces here, we might want to try a little bit harsher. You can actually turn the seed, which is basically just random generated versions of the settings we have, basically just changes it even more. And 9 times out of 10, this is just pointless. But some of the situations you can actually use, and it will work to your benefit. This looks like it's just awful. I don't like the scaling on that, or the seed. You don't need to worry about the animating part because we're not animating this, but you could actually animate the noise so that it looks like water. That's basically how you can fake water in an animation. You can go in there and put noise on it on the water surface, and assuming you have a good texture to it, you can make it look like it's actually ripples. Let's try 3. I really want to get this a little bit sharper because I'm afraid that the printer's not going to really pick up on that. It may be a little bit better. But boy, I hate that the way that is up there. Because that definitely is not how you cut stone. I mean, I'm okay with the fact that all these pieces are, you know, different pieces. That's fine. That's natural. You can use natural cut stone instead of actually cutting it, and they can lay kind of like that, and it's more or less straight up and down. If you look at it from an edge, it's fairly vertical. And it's mostly vertical. It has a couple of lips and cave-ins, but for the most part, it's fairly vertical. So it would work. It just this top part really kind of fries me. Um, Especially this. I don't know what this is all about. Interesting. It's just ripple effect. Well, hopefully the printer doesn't care about that. But that may be where we go. This may be the direction, and just kind of go with it. Because again, you can make just a regular one, and that's fine. You can even, is this thing upside down? It sure is. I can even make a copy, an actual copy, not an instance. We'll call this one Wishing Well Rough, and this one we're gonna call it Wishing Well Smooth. Ain't nothing on here. We're smooth. Turn on the smooth, and or better yet, what we can do is turn it on and then turn it to like 60. Let's actually get it so we actually see it. Yeah, something like that. And it's smooth, but it's got at least some kind of dimple formation on there. Yeah, you can even make it like 30. And that way, yeah, see how, I mean, it still looks, that looks more like an actual well. Of course, it's still a little bit, but again, that's natural rock, and they kind of cut that. So we can offer both of these, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. They'll, whichever one person likes. And the nice thing is you're not going to be able to satisfy everybody. But if you give them a couple options, then sometimes they'll take it. All right, so let's save this thing. And now for the last part of the evening, we are going to build the support. We move the support. Let's move this back to 0, 0. Let's move this back to 0, 0, and then move it out. Oop, that is not. How about 90 millimeters? There we go. And move it back 20. There we go. All right, so it's just a little bit off the z-axis. Let's hide this because we don't need it. We're just focused on this one. We are going to make the supports, and the supports are basically going to be 2 fairly thick timbers that have been cut. You can either do it one or two ways. You can go in with like a cylinder and make it natural, or you can make it go in there with it roughly cut, and that's what I'm going to do. So I basically just make, you know, a general. Let's start down here. I make a general square-ish. You can actually hold down Control to make an actual true square. I'm not really worried about getting an actual real squarish. That's just good enough. But I do want it to be big. And the reason is because, I mean, the truth behind this piece, it needs to look solid. It's going to have a top-heavy part to it, but it needs to look like it's not getting blown over real easily. And that's fine. And we're not going to go up that high. We're just going to go up, yay. Do I have, unhide by name, do I have a cylinder? No. I deleted it. Let's, real quickly, make our little temporary model, 12.5, 25 millimeters tall. A typical size for a mini. And that's going to be fine. We'll just put the little roof on the top there, and that should be good enough. All right. So on this one, we want to start on this peg first. We don't want to make 2 of them to begin with because we're going to copy it over and then make some adjustments after we do all the editing on it. So for right now that we got the height, let's isolate this thing, and this is what we're going to work on. We need to make this look like it's both cut, but it's also been used with a planer, a tool that smooths it down, but make it so that some of the knots are still on there, so that hopefully we see like maybe 2 knots or something like that to give it some definition. So we're going to add, for now, some segments. And do 4 by 4 by 4. And that way, if F4, you actually see them. Really don't like this color. Let's make it like a purple or something, like darker. Yeah, I can see it better. So basically what we're going to do is, first we're going to build the loose pieces of the knot. And then we're going to go in there and make the actual like splits in the wood, because that'll give you a lot of better character on it. And the last thing we will do is chamfer the edges, and that way it looks like it's a little bit rounded around the corners, but it's not so much. And we do that at the very end, or do we? Let me think here, because I want to do it at the end usually, but typically if we add more faces to this thing, which we probably will, chamfering does not like being added to it after it. Let's do the chamfering first. I usually don't do it that way, but let's try and see what happens. So basically we're just going to select all these. Oops. Don't have to worry about the top and the bottom. Why? Because those are going to be fused to the roof and the stonework. So it's all this is going to be one piece. So you're not going to have to worry about that. You can even delete the top and the bottom, because those pieces are going to be where the stonework and where the roof is. So you don't have to worry about that. But now we got the edges here, and now we're going to chamfer them. And I would go in there and add a couple of segments. You don't have to add a whole bunch. You can if you want. You can make it nice and rounded if you want to. And then you can adjust how much you want these pieces spread out. If you're wanting to go this route, you may not make this. If you want to go bigger than this, like a bigger radius than this that I got here, you don't want to put the segments, the pre-segments that I put up there, these right here. You want to remove those and add those later. Why? Because you cannot chamfer beyond the next segment right there. That's as far as you can go. So if you want to do it more than that, you're going to have to do that originally. So that to me looks fine. It's okay. It's just a piece of wood. All right. Now I want to do the knots. And to do the knots, I want to conform these together. And that's not going to work. Let's try it this way. That'll work. And I'm going to actually make the knot kind of large, because again, this is a miniature, and sometimes you have to go bigger than you think in order to make it look presentable when you're actually printing the thing out. So for now, I'm going to, I really don't want it centered. I kind of want it off-centered. So let's do that and deselect that. Now it looks off-centered. And we're going to just bevel this thing. And again, we're keeping it nice and crude because the mesh smooth with the turbo smooth will help out later. So go in there, just give yourself like some kind of a knot. It comes in. That's fine. If you want, you can go in here and actually bevel inward by right-clicking, zero out. The bottom number will come inward, and you can only come in for a little bit because this segment, it may just be better just to not have done those segments to begin with, because this segment here is going to cause this piece, when it goes past it, it does not like it like that. It starts to crisscross. So that's as far as I can go, which, yeah, it works for me, but might not for you. And then I'm going to zero this in. After I hit the plus, I shrunk this down to the size. Let me show you. I shrunk this down to the size I want. I hit the plus sign. And that basically sets it in stone, but it continues to let me make the modifications I want. But it's going to continue on exactly what my settings were previously. So I need to zero out my previous one, but I still have a second piece here. It is different. It just looks like it isn't, but it is separate. And you just have to keep track of that. I'm just going to go back a little bit and then use my scale tool and just bring it in. That's good enough. When we mesh smooth that thing, that'll look like more or less like a knot. All right, on this side, I want to split a segment, but I don't want to just make it straight up and down because that doesn't look very natural. So I'm going to start moving these around a little bit and make it kind of like that. And I may add another segment here by selecting all the segments here, making connect, and clicking OK. And that way I can move this piece backwards over there and move that down. Now I've got nice and little jagged edge. Again, it doesn't look like much, but we'll get to that. So we go to edge, double click on it so you select the whole thing. Since we have no top and bottom, it doesn't matter. We're just doing this. We're going to be using the extrude tool on this one. And this, you want to do the bottom one first, not the top one, the bottom one, which is the width. Set your width. In this case, I want to do like that. And then set your depth. Always negative on the depth goes inward, positive goes outward. And now you've got a nice little cut right through it. And it looks kind of like, you know, that. It has been split. But I don't like that one in particular. Or maybe I do. Yeah. I want another piece to come off of it. So let's back this thing up. Keep backing up until you've undone the extrude. And let's use a cut tool. Hold down S or press S to get your snap on. And you're going from here to right there. That's it. Just make sure it's yellow whenever you click on it. Go back to your vertice, put S to turn off your snap, and then just move it to one side so it kind of has a little fork formation. Go back to your edge, and now you can double click. Hold down Control, double click, and just click. So now you've got, with the Control down, you've got it all selected. Then go back to extrude. Again, bring it out, bring it in, done. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. That way you can actually see it. Again, you can enhance these things a little bit more, dramatize them so that they show up a little bit bigger on the printer. Otherwise, the printer's not going to be able to show that type of small, minute size. Matter of fact, let's measure this real quick. Let's go here. Oops. Let's make a... That's 3/4 of a millimeter right there. So typically you don't want it to go any smaller than 0.2 millimeters, but 0.7 is still pretty small. But it will be big enough that it will be presentable on the printer whenever you take it off, so that's fine. We probably want we want a little bit more than that though. So, because right now it looks more like stone than anything. So we need a little bit more, maybe just this piece right here comes over, but we only are going to go to there, and then the last piece will move over like that, and these two pieces will be chamfered, and we'll keep the same depth. It's nice and consistent. I feel like we need something over there to kind of balance it out. So what we'll do is do this one, not this one. And I don't want all that, but I don't want it I don't want to go down that far. And again, extrude. Click OK, and you're good. And now you've got a few pieces there that look like cuts, and like I said, they'll be like that. Now, you definitely want to do that for this side because the knot is going to be part of the reason why there's a cut. And what I would recommend doing, because this blasted line right here is really kind of annoying, I would grab all that and move it to the middle. And that way you have a nice even, that segment won't bother you on the edge anymore, because it'll be nice and symmetrical more or less. And the nice thing is with this, you can take these edges, pull them up, take this one, pull it down, take this one, pull it out, and take this one and pull it out a little bit. And that way it has more of a roundness, and again, the Mesh Smooth will enhance that, but the knot is not going to be squared completely. You'll have a little bit of a roundness to it. And now you can actually go in there and select this and this and this and extrude. And you click on OK for now, but we will want to move these to one side. Maybe grab this one so we can keep going. Make sure we're just grabbing the piece here. Let me go the other way. Okay. And then maybe this one goes to side there. You can actually go in there and slice this again. It won't hurt anything to slice this, because you can go in there and connect. And just add the one for now is fine. And then you can go in here and just select these three and then move it a little bit. And that way it kind of looks like that. Do another one right there. And maybe another one right there. One down there. Extrude. And be sure to change it so that they're not completely vertical. Just give it a little bit of variety so that it's not just straight up and down, because nature just doesn't like up and down. It likes randomness. So we got those two, and then we got these last two edges. And really you just move things around first, just randomly, as best you can. Don't think when you're doing this. Don't put too much effort into your thinking process, because then you'll start making patterns. Even if you're trying to be random, you'll start making patterns just naturally. So if you can, think of a song or a movie quote or something like I'm doing right now. I'm just talking. I'm not thinking. I'm just clicking on them and not really doing anything else. And then hoping that once I stop talking and look at what I'm doing, that I haven't caused a major problem, and then also it's consistent. It's consistently random. We'll see. But right now it looks like I'm okay. Okay. All right, so now we go to Edge, and we just double click all these. That one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. And go to Extrude. Ooh, lots of them. All right, there we go. There they all are. To make this thing tight on the bottom and the top, which we definitely want to, we want to put this one. We want to select this one, because we're going to put an edge right at the bottom, so that's got a sharp edge. So go to Connect, and it's this one. And then I think that's it. Let's throw a Turbo Smooth to see how we're doing right now on it. And you can see how it kind of, it does resemble, in a way, some kind of a tree that's been cut. Again, you're not looking for realism. You're looking for just representation. And it does look like, with a knot on there, it looks like a piece of tree and all that. We need to flare some stuff out, though, first. We need to flare out the base just a bit because I want it to be a little bit wider at the base, because when you do that, it makes it more stable looking. Same thing for the top. I just want the top part to come out, to branch out. And you can go in there and you can just select just that top part if you want, and just the bottom part if you want, and flare that out if you want to get it a little bit more, because it's still going to be tight because you got the segments up there right below it. So you don't have to make them square. You can just get it like that, and there you go. Here's your quick and dirty support. And what we'll do is end isolation, and now we've got our little tutti frutti. Let's align this thing. Line tools up here, right here. You click on this thing, deselect all the squares. It's going to always have them all selected to line centered, you know, and you just want the Z-axis because we just want it to on the top, and then change these around until he sees itself at the bottom, because you're wanting the bottom here, the target minimum, to be on the maximum top of your target. And there we go. And then tomorrow or Wednesday, we'll go in here, we'll make a copy. We don't want to instance this, we want a copy of it. And we could almost get away with doing this, turning it 90 degrees, and you've got yourself inconsistency enough, you could probably get away with actually doing this. And if you're in a crunch and you really want to get this thing done in time, then that's the way to do it, is to go in there and just turn it a little bit. I want to go in here and add a couple iterations to it, because when I boolean these two together, it's not going to like it. So we'll see how that works, because I'll have to go in there. We may actually have to put the top on that one and the bottom. Booleening. Isolate. We can turn that off. We can turn on that order. We cap it, even though I turned it on last time. Boy, I don't know if we really need to or not. Let me try it without it first. Right now, what we have is a hollow tube. Goes all the way through it. Boolean is a really kind of a quirky thing. This is what we'll end the night on. This is something pretty cool. I'm going to save it yet again. So you always want to save before you use Boolean. What Boolean does is it either fuses two objects together, and I mean fuses them, not attached. It actually combines the two together, so the vertices will be all in one, and it will be one complete object. You can use one object to cut that shape out of another object. So if you have a circle and you have a extruded star and you want to cut a star out of the middle of that circle, you can use that star and boolean out the star, and it will have a hole in your circle at the end of it in the shape of a star. You can do a couple of other methods. Sometimes it does not like to work. Sometimes it does. It kills your computer because it's a very complicated procedure. But we're going to do it right now and see what happens. You also lose every single one of your modifiers. It does not matter how many you have on here. They will be gone, and it collapses it to an actual Boolean. So that's why you save it before you do anything like that. The Boolean is hidden underneath your Create tab, the first one. And then under Standard Primitives, this is where all your boxes and cylinders are. There's a drop-down menu where we would typically go for our modifier list on the next that we've been going to get noise and things like that. And we're going to go down to Compound Objects. That's where it's hidden. it changes all of these. I mean, there is just a multitude of different buttons that you can go on this thing, and one of which is Pro Boolean. It's under Compound. That's where we were as standard primitives. We're under Compound. And you click on Boolean, and right now I have the well selected. Before you even click that Boolean button, you need to know what you're going to do, because right now, if I go to the modifier tab, it has wishing well is already it has already collapsed to a Boolean. I haven't even done anything to it. I've just selected Boolean. I haven't completed anything. I haven't unioned anything. Nothing. It has already collapsed and removed everything I had to begin with. So that's why you got to know what you're doing. So I'm going to union, which is right here, these operations right here in the middle. Union is when you join two objects together. Intersection, it is literally where the two pieces intersect. You will get that piece, and that's it. So if the two pieces overlap each other, where they overlap, that's what you'll get. Subtraction is what I said earlier. It's a cutter tool. Merge is a kind of like a union, and then attach and insert is a couple of other ones. They get crazier and crazier. All you got to do is, first of all, I'm going to deselect this. I want to make sure that this is actually not just sitting on the top, because if it's just sitting on the top, see how that's exposed? You need to actually push that bad boy into so that all of it is a part of inside. You see this piece right here that's sticking out? You don't want that. So you want to turn Turbo Smooth off. You want to turn Edge on. You want to move that inside so it's gone. You don't want to have a whole bunch of weird pieces sticking out, because it'll just merge it. So this is how it's going to be. You see how it's like dipped down into that? How it's dipped down into that? You want to make sure that it's completely inside this thing. You want it to overlap. You don't want to have it any openings, because it's going to fuse the two together. Make sure your Turbo Smooth is turned on. Make sure you have Turbo Smooth. If you have on one, make sure Turbo Smooth's on the other, because the more polygons, the more complicated it is, but the easier it is for it to mesh the two together. All right, go back to your wishing well. I've already got Subtract selected, so I need Union because I'm combining these two together. I want to do the same. Actually, I want to do the same thing because we're going to do it to both of these bad boys. I want to go to F or L, and I want to make it go down to the Y section. I want it to be the same size and height as the other one so that they're perfectly on the same level. Okay, so I go back to the wishing well, and I've got Union selected. You can attach these two pieces up here, these two purple pieces, and then Boolean them if you want to, or you can do it one at a time. You click Start Picking, this button right here. Everything you click on will keep adding to the wishing well, the stone part. You can click this a million times and it will keep adding more and more to it, and it gets more and more complicated. The more pieces you add to it, the longer it has to take to calculate. So we're going to click on box 2 and see what happens. And you see it's spinning wheels because it's having to calculate a lot. You're talking about a lot of polygons that you're trying to combine the two together. Is it smart to do this before you put on Turbo Smooth? Yes and no. If you want to, you can. It does make it easier to fuse the two objects together in that regard. But then you have got a lot of problems with modifiers, where, like, for instance, I don't want to add the noise modifier onto the timbers, but I wanted to add it onto the wishing well. Well, if it's all one piece, you saw what happened. It doesn't do that. It applies to everything, so your timbers would get noise. Do you see how long this is taking? Now, I've got a computer that's pretty good size right now, and yet this Boolean operation is actually taking, it's every bit of 30 seconds right now. And the bad thing is, assuming it doesn't crash the computer, once this operation finishes, if it, for some reason, the purple piece could disappear. And that happens when the two pieces just don't like each other and the thing just cannot fuse the two together. They're incompatible. Something just didn't work right, and it will delete it. When you hit Control Z to bring it back, which you can, you have to wait for the pretty much the same time it takes for it to boolean right now. Where I'm sitting here, if it takes 3 minutes to do this operation, it will take close to 3 minutes to undo it. So sit back and relax and get your popcorn out when this is working on this. Now, if it takes longer than your patience, that's fine. You can kill this thing and reload max and come back to your save spot. That's why we save it right before we do boolean. Because this, and pro boolean is pretty much the only thing that really will guarantee there's a good chance it can screw up your computer if you're doing it too much. All right. Now, it just finished, and look what it did. It deleted my wishing well. It basically converted everything into the timber, which is definitely not what I want, obviously. It did not do what I was hoping for. One of the reasons why it probably didn't work well is because the timber pieces are hollow. And usually it's better to solidify two pieces and fuse them together than having that tube shape, because all it's trying to do is make that little thin sliced. It's slicing through that solid object of the stone. Oh, I got lucky that time. And actually undo was a lot quicker than it usually does. Now, even though I'm running late, I'm going to actually finish this off because I kind of want to do this. So it still has Pro Boolean selected as my wishing well. I would have to go back one more step to undo that, or it's permanently going to be booleaned. I will not have any of my modifiers on. But what I'm going to try to do is what I was trying to do earlier. And basically, I'm going to go into Edit Mesh, or Edit Poly on top of the Turbo Smooth. Collect Border, and I'm going to take the top, from the top to the bottom. And I'm going to cap both these things. Now it's a solid object. Can end isolate mode. We're going to do the same thing for this one. Right click, isolate section, add an edit poly, choose your border, click the top to the bottom. Click cap, end isolation. I'm going to go ahead and save it again. Why? Because it's better to safe than sorry. And then we're going to try it one more time, and then we're going to call it quits for the night. Well, let's see if we can finish off a positive note. We still have it on Union. And I'm going to start picking. And one of the other things I was telling you about you can actually do is actually attach these two together so it does it at once. So I'm going to select this one. We have Edit Poly already selected. I'm going to go down here to Attach. And it's just going to attach these two pieces together. It doesn't look it, but they're now the same piece. All right, so now when I click on Start Picking on the wishing well, it's going to try to attach both of them at the same time. This makes it more difficult, but it's one less step. So cross your fingers, hold on to your butts, go pop some popcorn. Let's see how long this takes. Maybe we'll end on a good note. I've got my doubts right now, but we'll go ahead and see. Sometimes Boolean or Pro Boolean actually works awesome. And I've used it in the past where it just saves my bacon big time. So in this regard, I'm not quite sure, because one object, the wishing well part, has a lot more faces than the timbers do right now. And there's some awkward geometry that is going on between the two of them. It's very complicated calculation what it's doing right now. And I suspect, I'm predicting that the wishing well is going to disappear again. But let's hope for positive thought. Now the downside is that you're going to have to do this at one point. Because in order to get things to print, unless you want multiple pieces and then you assemble them together, you're going to have them all as one piece. You can always slice it up when you're ready to print the thing. That's fine. You can slice this thing in two pieces in a slicer program and print this out in two pieces and then glue it together. That's fine. But if you have, let's say, these two timber pieces that are sitting on top of the wishing well, if they're just freestanding on top of the well, then the printer is not going to recognize it as one piece. It's going to want to print off those timbers separately. And then you're going to have to figure out how to assemble it. Do those pieces freestand on the lip of the well like they're all right now? If that's the case, how do they stay on? If anybody knocks them, just bumps into it, the top falls off, and that's not good. You want it all to be kind of nice and sturdy. See, that's exactly what I predicted. It's just a little bit too complicated. I'm going to work on that probably tomorrow night, and get those two fused together so that they're actually one piece. There's some other tricks that I can do, but I'm running over time right now, and I'm ready to go get some food. So what we're going to do Wednesday is we're going to once we finish this piece here, I'll have these together. And we're going to have a nice little roof, just an A-frame roof to go on top of it. And then we'll have a stick to go across to represent the spoke or the spigot. And then we'll have a stick going down to hold the bucket right there. And then we'll be done. I'm thinking maybe put a little bit of grass on the side, and then we're going to make it on a unhide all. We're going to make a 3x3 square like this. That this will be fused onto as well, or will just actually fit onto, so that it will give the option of either freestanding, or they can use this, and that way they just have this little nice piece that fits perfectly 1-inched on their grid exactly as they want it to be. So they have that option to either set this thing into that and set it nice and pretty on their battle mat, or they can freestand this thing all they want. So it'll be up to them, and like I said, we give them options. All right. I'm going to hide this. Well, I really don't need to because I already saved this. Really don't need to hide this at all because this is not one. So I will leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm thrilled and completely blown away that actually people stick around and watch this thing. Hopefully it's educational in a bit. Hopefully you pick up on at least one thing here and there. And keep in mind we do this Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can get the link on Facebook at Simple Polytricks. You can usually follow it on Instagram, Twitter. I try to keep more on Facebook than anything, so feel free to jump over there and like the Simple Polytricks. It's not very difficult to find. You just type that in, and there it is. And that way it keeps you up to date on what's going on. I post some renderings and things like that. So with that, I appreciate your time and attention, and we'll see you again Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. sharp. Until then, bye-bye.